In today's bonus episode of the Do-It-Yourself Western Leather Holster series, we're going to talk about how to wet form an all-leather holster. Let's move to the bench. These are holster mold guns. This one's a blue gun that I bought on eBay. This one is also a blue gun that I bought on eBay. This is a different style this is a Glock 43X, and it's been prepped. So the trigger guard has been filled in. I'm going to change how this is before I make a holster with it, because this is higher than I want it. I'm going to file this down. But that's enough about that. These are resin casts from Bunkhouse Tools. I'm not affiliated with any of these companies at all, but these are the most inexpensive route to go. They're nice and exact to the actual size of a gun. The blue gun costs about $80, and if I recall correctly, this was about $40. I highly recommend having a holster mold gun, but if you're just making one holster, you can do it with a real gun as well. If you're using a real gun, there's two important steps. First of all, you're going to want to check and make sure that gun is unloaded. Never form a holster with a loaded gun. You end up pointing the gun at yourself a lot. And then you can do this one of two ways. You can use a plastic bag or cellophane. When I'm using a real gun, I usually just use a plastic bag. Stick it in there, and you're ready to go. If you're making a super fast draw holster, sometimes I'll use multiple bags to make sure that holster stays nice and loose. Now I'm going to show you how I get the holster wet. This is pretty straightforward. I'm going to use mostly warm water. I don't use super hot water, just mostly warm. You want to be able to hold your hand under there. If this was a really fancy tooled holster that I wanted to keep the outside from getting any marring at all on, like if it was a fancy floral carving, I would just get the inside of the holster wet. Fill it up like a bucket and hold it there. This one's pretty simple, and so I'm going to get the whole thing wet. For one, I want to form this holster in really good, because this customer wants good retention. Just going to keep running it underwater. I'm going to get this wet too, because I want to bend this around while I'm forming the holster. And as I've discussed in previous videos, if you bend this too much when it's dry, you can get cracking. I'm just going to keep putting water in here and on here until I feel the holster start to get soft. Because right now, it's still quite rigid. And I'll just fill it up and hold water in it. You can also just fill the sink up and dunk the holster. I've done that before. I just like doing it this way better. Now you can see it's starting to get soft. I can mold this around any way I want. There is a point where you get it too wet, and then you have to let it dry out before you can shape it, because it won't hold form. This is about where I want it. I can put a bend in there and it stays. Just like that. You can see it's all nice and squishy. Now we'll go back to the shop. Now we're going to get into shaping. There's a few key aspects. You want to get this one, like I said, he wants it to hold the gun in well. So I'm going to mold this in tightly to the gun, which is one of the reasons I like using a holster molding gun, because I do not have any plastic in between the gun and the holster, allowing me to get it formed in tightly. I'm going to bend this around right now. Now you can see I've installed 2 Chicago screws before I put this all together, so I'm just gonna kind of line those up, get that crease in there just like so, where it'll go over the gun belt. Now I'm going to push this out. That's going to do 2 things. It's going to make it a little bit more comfortable on the belt, and I can get my finger in around there. I left it there. I didn't cut that leather back because I needed it there for the stability of the belt loop. Otherwise the belt loop would have gotten too soft and narrow. Now I'm curving the belt loop, because if you leave this straight, it will be very uncomfortable. Now, the last very important step, you gotta flare this out. Because if you don't flare that top out, when you go to reholster, it's going to hit the edge. I'll push this back down. It'll hit, and it won't want to reholster. So, just flare it out. Just like so. Now you've watched me wet form this holster. And off camera, I added the cross strap and dyed and finished the edges. So this gun is still unloaded. It's the same one that we checked in the beginning of the video. And the way I shaped this holster, it holds the gun in very well. Thanks for watching. As always, we'll see you on the next video.